Hello and welcome to the podcast. My name is Dave and I'm joined as ever by my friend Ian.
Hello.
And we went to a not LARP event.
Not LARP, but LARP adjacent and super interesting, puzzly, occulty, sort of
fancy
secret cinema meets puzzles, escape rooms, and LARP. It's probably the easiest way of talking about it. It's a very interesting mashup genre of experience.
Before we get too metaphysical, we went to the Locksmith Dream, which basically I got an email, I got a message of someone I know, and they literally said to me, "What are you like? What are your bookings like in December?" I was like, "Very fucking busy." And they were like, "Hey, there's this event. If you want to go, we can comp you some tickets." So this, unlike every other single episode we've done, we got free tickets to go to. So just to completely be transparent, we were given free tickets. We didn't pay to go to this event. I did speak to the organizer. We had a half an hour chat. I basically said to him, we want to come. It looks amazing. But just to let you know, we're going to be completely honest in what we're going to say, and our review of the event and our experiences. Is it still okay that we come? And he was like, "Abso-fucking-lutely, come on down. I wouldn't have it any other way. We're trying to find out where the good things and the bad things of what we're doing are. So obviously take everything we say with a pinch of salt, because we are effectively selling out at this stage." And what a way to sell out.
I know, it was so good. It was so good. I wasn't ready. No. I wasn't ready for just how awesome it was.
So good.
There's so many things, and the reveals all the way through.
Hold on. Let's slow down there, Tiger. Right. Slow down there. So we went off to a wonderful house on the edge of Wales. A big fucking stack of bricks out, like one of these big stately homes, with gardens. It was a hell of a building to have this event in.
It's a beautiful setting. The weather actually was just at that right kind of moment as well, I think, to add that extra magical spice to it.
It was that loads of frost on the ground. Do you know what it made me think of was, if you've ever read The Secret Garden, that house.
Also, I guess this is an interesting thing as well, and we'll get to this, but as we're progressing through, we become aware that there's lore for this whole experience that me and Dave aren't fully aware of. And there's a whole kind of set of lore that other people obviously were a bit more steeped in. For me, I had no idea.
Zero.
And I still had an amazing time.
Yes.
So I don't think that's important to say, because the lore is based off Cultist Simulator and things like that. There are other sort of things around that.
I don't know much about it. I bought the game yesterday, having bought it like a year ago, whatever it was, and I played like an hour of it and then was like, this is so obtuse and ridiculous. I can't be asked to play this. In prep for this, was like, hey, I'm just going to play a little bit just to kind of refresh my memory of things. 14 hours later within, what is it, just over a day? Like, that's an embarrassingly large amount.
I came over and you were still playing.
I don't know whether it's good or not. I can't tell. I just keep playing it.
It's made by the same people who did Fallen London and all of that kind of stuff, which I really like, actually.
Really deep lore. It's either genius or it's pretentious wank or both, but it's really compelling and really good. I do have issues with the game. I think you should be able to earn money faster. That's just one nitpick I would say. But generally, it's really fascinating to get into this very deep lore of the closest thing, just for a frame of reference, is Lovecraftian, but that doesn't. But that really isn't what it is. Right?
I would say, actually, for me, the closest thing might be His Dark Materials or something like that, where there's things like the Magisterium and things like that. There is basically a organization that governs magic, called the Suppression Bureau, who are in operation in this world of the Locksmith's Dream that is the event we went to, and the house, which was I think called Triarvan, I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly, that we went to, is kind of like a kind, and again, if you are steeped in this lore, we're going to make massive mistakes.
We're definitely going to make mistakes.
100% mistakes.
Yeah.
But it's kind of locked in some kind of temporal shift magic-y stuff that's going on, where it has phases. It has a phase called the House of the Sun and the House of the Moon, and this becomes quite important gameplay-wise when you're there, because you have two very different experiences in each of those different phases.
How was it for you when you first rocked up?
So when I first turned down, it was a little bit before you.
I basically had a friend of mine was giving birth, and they kindly asked me to be part of their birthing partner, or one of them. So basically, we had to take separate cars. I couldn't really drink that much alcohol because I could have to leave at a drop of a hat. Yeah. So basically, so you got there first. How was it?
So I turn up, and the first person I encounter is this gentleman called Hatch, who introduces himself. Who's in? The setting is kind of 1920s, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's wearing this kind of, I guess, slightly sort of, like
a tux.
Like a tux. It's slightly. Immediately, he's wearing like those kind of sunglasses that were of that era, and is kind of shrunken into the shadow of the door frame, and immediately is kind of a bit creepy, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
Right? Hatch is, and there's a lot of amazing characters you meet, was probably one of my favourite characters.
It's so hard to tell. I have a couple of favourites.
Yes.
And Hatch is definitely one of them. Like,
so good.
Like, really polite, really, really welcoming, but at the same time with a creepy edge, but also like a kind of like a backhanded compliments constantly. Like, he's kind of just a really fun, cheeky little grin underneath all of it.
There's a very, and you learn as you play, and it's difficult to know how much to say, but you learn what Hatch is, or things that Hatch may be, and what drives the character, and there's a delicious quality that is to the delivery of that, which is quite subtle, and I'm saying this especially as someone who doesn't know the lore. It became apparent that there was more to his character as that went on.
There was more to everyone and the world and everything that we're experiencing. Like, I think one thing, we said it before, we didn't know anything about the lore before we got there. It didn't really matter.
No.
We still really got into it. It's a very deep lore, but like, one thing I found was like, everything had layers and mystery, and even the stuff, like even in the game and the computer game compared to this game was like this idea that like some things are true-ish.
Yes.
Like, we don't know what, like, we're going to try and also give our best version of kind of what happened. We're going to desperately try and avoid spoilers.
Yes.
Which might be difficult, but we talked a little bit before about a few moments. There are a few moments that we can't go into detail on that were absolutely transcendent, that we don't want to talk about because of how amazing.
That there are things that happened that are so good that
we can't spoil them.
We can't spoil them, and you have to experience them for yourself
yes.
if you get the chance to go. And I guess if you don't want any spoilers, and my own personal review, I don't know how you feel about this.
I would 100% recommend going.
Yeah, I would 100%. If you can afford it and you can make the time, it's really good.
Yeah.
Like, and you definitely can't say that you don't get your money's worth.
We should talk about this like afterwards. The price tag is a lot more than it is going to a standard LARP. LARPs in the UK are underpriced. I think that's fair to say. Like, for the experience that you're having, this is a very bespoke experience, and they're basically a lot of them are LARPers who set this up. They're trying to do something different. Like you said, I think Secret Cinemas are really like match of like the sort of clientele they're probably going for. I think though, if you've got a partner.
Yeah.
And you're looking for a really special weekend.
Yeah.
This is a really good thing to go and do. Like, I really You know what I mean?
There are moments where your face, when certain reveals were made, and your face just lit up, and I will never forget some of the moments of realization when you were like, there were moments where you were like, I can actually do that.
Yeah.
Or this is actually a thing.
Yeah.
And when
I want to go and do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And I'm like, I'm gonna do that right now then. And it was like,
and it's there.
And my instincts were correct, and yeah.
All of that, but we can't.
By the way, this also comes off the back of me going to a player event recently where I was a bit of a super sleuth. So we kind of went into this event, and we were very much like, "What the fuck are we doing?" We had no idea what we're doing. Actually, I won't spoil, but yeah,
okay. So after I met Hatch, he then called on a gentleman called Hawthorne, who is the servant of the house, and that becomes important later. And he's kind of, if you like, the butler, I suppose, of the whole thing. And he took me on this because I was quite late. We were both quite late to arrive. Like, traffic wasn't great. We got up a little bit late, and it's not an easy journey anyway.
I think it was like we were supposed to get there at midday. I think I got there about 20 to 1 or something like that.
But so he takes me on this really quick, we're on the top floor of this building. He takes me on this quick kind of like march up, explaining both in character, like what is kind of loosely going on, and also like while delivering like OC information really well. And the cast did this wonderfully throughout the whole thing. You're constantly provided with information while being kind of like given sort of OC information as well in a very kind of comfortable way. And as I say, this is kind of, it is slightly different to a LARP in lots of ways.
Many ways.
And I wouldn't want someone to go to thinking that this is a LARP.
No. It's an experience.
It's an experience, but there are definitely LARP adjacent things, and the characters you meet, as I say, I kind of more refer to them as a cast necessarily, because you yourself don't necessarily have to be a character there. We did try and have sort of certain personas.
I was ridiculous throughout.
Yeah, we both basically went as slightly posh idiots.
We were posh idiots.
Yeah.
Yes, crack elite investigation squad who were born with a silver spoon up their bums and
but were buffoons. And wore it very much on our sleeves.
Yes.
But that was about all the character work we did, and I would say most of the time I was Ian.
Loads of people. We dressed up in suits. Some people just wore their normal clothes.
Yeah.
I would recommend dressing up because it felt really good.
It was fun. It was fun,
but not necessary. Also, like you said, like not necessarily to be in character.
Yeah.
This is why I think like the idea of going with a partner is like really good, because you can just be like, hey, well, like chill. Like we're gonna solve some mysteries.
Yeah.
And that's you don't need to.
I actually think this would be a really good thing to do with that partner that you have who is not into LARP, and you know you're heading off to LARPs, and you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of like the kind of things that I do. This kind of touches on it, and it's something that we could both enjoy.
They're not into Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
you shouldn't really date someone that isn't into Lord of the Rings. Like, don't do that. Like, but if they're kind of one of those people that kind of thinks that sort of. This is different. Anyway, I arrived there. I was actually met by the butler, Hawthorne.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I see you've come in through the servants' entrance." And I was just like, "Oh, old habits die hard, old boys." Do you know what I mean? Like, and then we came in, and he was immediately like, our room was north.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, your companion has already arrived and has already gone to the room," type thing. Yeah. Headed up there, and it was like we're right at the top of the house. So we walked all the way. There's like 4 floors or whatever it is, and it was just like. It was crazy walking around, right? And then I knocked on the door, and just a look on your face being like, holy shit, bro. Yeah. Like, and we had a lovely room, twin beds. We thought we were going to have to share a double.
Yeah.
Had twin room. That was a load off our minds. I think we could all agree. But
we both suited up. Waiting for us are these 2 lapel pins.
Yes.
A letter.
What's our
we were from the... I'm going to pronounce this horribly. The Hostorium.
The Hostorium was our kind of... And we had no context for this, by the way.
Yes.
when you arrive, there's a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like there's little bits of paper we haven't made any notes for this episode deliberately because we want to keep things kind of vague and not spoil stuff and generally just kind of waffle on about it. We've got a selection of the stuff in front of us that we actually had. This included like a few rules, a bunch of other stuff, not really rules, like really. And basically we also got, importantly, our little notepads.
Well, the notepad undersells it.
Undersells it massively.
A bound book with... Let's count the pages at the front. With... 54 pages of lore on all sorts of different things.
So many things, Ian. So many things. There are
pictures of birds in here.
There are
chess games and origami, all sorts of things.
Posters. There's maps of the building. There is
a magic trick.
A magic trick. There are flyers from the 1920s. There's letters from the visitors book. A bunch of stuff in here. And as two dyslexics, we looked at this and went, oh shit.
Yes.
Oh dearie me.
Yeah.
We have arrived late. We have not had the opportunity to read up on anything.
Yeah. I suddenly became aware, I didn't, because we arrived so late, I didn't even have the chance to ask you this question. I was like, was there a lore document I was supposed to have read before I got here? Because I immediately looked at all this stuff and I was like, wow.
We're so far behind the curve.
Yeah.
But don't you think... So we got ushered downstairs to the main room, and we got introduced to the different characters that are there. There was a lady there from the Suppression Bureau.
Yeah.
There was the
curator
who was awesome. Hatch. Sorry.
Yeah.
There was a chef. The chef had his whole team. There were a team of waiting staff there as well,
and like an actual chef, by the way.
Yeah, an actual chef.
We'll get to the food later, but the food, I spoke to the guy at the end, and actually one of the things he sort of said was he wanted to be involved in the game process and the food to be a part of the game. And
he's a LARPer.
Yeah, it's very good, and the quality of the food was phenomenal. But yeah, an actual chef, Hawthorne. Who was fantastic.
We introduced to these different characters that are going to be around the house that we're going to interact with, and then they were like, okay, have fun, basically. So we had a note in our rooms.
We had soup before we even started.
Oh yeah, we had soup and Welsh rarebit.
Yeah.
I don't like cheese, so I gave you mine, and you polished that off quite handsomely, didn't you?
I hadn't eaten anything.
Soup was great.
Yeah.
Also a chance to kind of meet some of the other people that are there.
Yeah, and see how different people... And again, it became quite clear. Some people were referencing things that I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
The range of people was very interesting. There were people who had knowledge. There were some people there that were really cash. There were some people there that had come from abroad.
Yeah.
There was some people were in character. Some people were not in character.
Yeah.
There was a variety of different types of people. And I had a whole bunch of fun interacting with all of those people.
Everybody,
right?
The group of players was amazingly fun. I said the cast was incredible.
But basically, they're like, okay, cool, go have fun type thing.
Yeah.
And it was just me and you were I was flicking through the book while we're at lunch, and I'm like, fucking hell, mate, what are we doing? What
we're actually doing, yeah.
So immediately afterwards, we were like, oh, I should mention, we found this, we were given this little note that said, it had a phrase on it.
Yeah.
And it said, meet your contact or whatever, or meet the contact at 12 o'clock by the sundial.
Yeah.
So we were like, we've got a few hours to kill. And we had already, at this stage, we had been or at 2 o'clock, whatever it was.
It was 2 o'clock, yeah.
We were like, we're just going to... The organisers were like, hey, just do whatever you want. Don't feel any pressure to do anything. So we were like, okay, cool. We will. Yeah. So we went to the bar.
Another really important thing is, in our little player packs, you get a little bag. It's important to say. You get a little bag
to have everything
that is slung over your shoulder that has a whole bunch of... It's got a pencil in it. It's got your book in it. It's got your lapel pin, a letter, some other information. I won't go into everything, but there's stuff in it. And you can carry this around with you, so... you'll always have a way to sort of have all your information on you. But the other thing it has is these 2 chitties inside it, these 2 little wooden chitties inside it that are like free cocktails.
Yes. Well, I bought them because I was like, hey, fancy cocktails, I'll buy them.
Yeah.
Me being a LARPer was like, let's get to the fucking bar. Yeah. First things first. You know what I mean? Like, let's get a cocktail in us before we even think about, like, and I set this up throughout the day of being like, where are the fucking cocktails? Go to the bar, and there's no cocktail makers there, okay? So I'm like joking about this. And then on each of the tables are puzzles and there were boxes, okay? And we were like, oh, these boxes are cool. And like me and you, we're both, as dyslexic, kind of visual, 3D puzzle sort of people anyway, so we were immediately drawn to the puzzles and the puzzle boxes. We had a great time in there, didn't we?
Man, I worked my way up from like the simple one, and then like Hatch came along and just like plonked down the big one and was like, this is a many move puzzle box. And I was like, I'm in.
Hatch was like, I undid one, and I was like, opened it. I was really chuffed with myself for opening this puzzle box. You know, all the slidey bits, you have to turn bits and all that stuff, right? I was like, really chuffed, and he goes, oh, well done, sir. That is actually the easiest one in the room. So congratulations. But like, and stuff like that, like really good.
So good.
Oh my God, puzzle boxes are fun.
That was
fun. Did break a puzzle box.
You did, yeah.
I don't know my own strength. Yeah. I'm well known for my Herculean strength and grip is, people are quite scared of me. So
they're quite difficult. So I was trying to be very gentle, but there are moments with those kind of things
you
where you do
whittle
have
them
to,
and waddle them, and then something slides out.
That was so much fun. I went through a whole bunch of them. But the other thing is, so the main, and as I said, there are some things we won't be able to talk about, but the main kind of things you come across are keys that will be attached to descriptors, and these descriptors will allude to where a box might be that this key may open.
Yes, or why are we doing these?
Yes.
Because we are trying to find these little discs, and these little discs are like they're like, I think of them like tokens, effectively.
Yeah.
Won't bore you with the lore that I don't really understand, but each of them represent these different aspects.
Yeah, so there's like 8 elements or something.
Yeah. Didn't get any of this, by the way, at the time. We were just there trying to find these little things.
Yes.
And then basically what you do is you collect these things and then go to see the suppression bureau lady, and then there's these jars, and you put the thingies in the jars related to the thing that your badge says you're from. Okay? Like, okay, we can do that.
And there are ones that you get that are kind of normal, which are kind of like, if you like, lesser things, and then there are like very specific ones that you can get. It's very specific
like
elements,
silver and iron, and a bunch of other stuff.
And you achieve these by doing certain things,
yeah.
Which again I won't go into. But you'll kind of be made aware that there are certain tasks.
Yeah, and this all developed. It's kind of interesting talking about at this stage where we were at, because I think me and you were like, okay, everyone else seemed to run off and seemed to know exactly what the fuck they were doing, and we felt like the dunces of the class, like sat in the other room and just playing with the toys, right? That's kind of how we felt, right? Like I did anyway.
Yeah.
And obviously we got to hang out with Hatch, and there was a lovely Welsh photographer lady, and we chatted to them and just had a really nice time. So we were having fun. We were just like,
you got interviewed by the newspaper, didn't you?
Later on, yeah. But like, I get interviewed by papers a lot. But generally, like, we were so in that competitive frame of mind that we were just like, we're just gonna hang. And then we got to like 2:00, and we were like, hey, let's go and hang out by the sundial and see what happens. Headed out there, and we found like we were just standing around, weren't we?
Yeah.
And then you were like, hey, what's this? And I was like, what? And then there was this like bottle with like this thing wrapped up inside of it. So we're like, well, that's probably important.
Yeah.
We should look at that.
Yeah.
So we went in there, looked in it, and found a thing.
Yeah.
And we were like, we should write this down.
Yes. And it's difficult to know what you should and what you shouldn't write down. At the beginning, I was writing everything down.
Yeah. I didn't write anything.
I became your little writing bitch, essentially.
Yes. Your words, not mine.
But you'll sort of learn as you play what is actually important and what you do need to take notes on.
Yeah. This was a good thing to note down, though. It was a good thing to note
it was. So that's a type of thing that you'll learn, which is called like a travelistic. And there are...
Oh, look at you!
Yeah, so there are basically... They come in threes, and they make like a poem, essentially. And you'll find all three things that match the same thing, and then you can go and talk to the curator, and they will give you a stampy. They'll always give you a stamp.
Let's get to the stamps. Let's get to the stamps later. But the kind of the discovery of things felt amazing. Like, even us felt like...
Bear in mind, everything, all the bits of text, and there's a lot of text, by the way. A lot
of text,
but all of it is like, or at least feels... very much like it's in world, in character, makes sense, and has some kind of meaning. And even though, I don't know about you, but even though I didn't understand the deeper aspects of the lore, I got a very distinctive flavour for the fantasy that was being told.
Yep. The lore was fantastic. Also, I like the fact is it's like any good puzzle game. And I think about things like Portal or other games where it sets up a puzzle, you look at it and go, man, that's really hard. I'm never going to figure that out. And then things will, your brain will develop and you'll be like, oh. And then you feel like big brains because you just figured the thing out, right?
Have you ever played The Witness?
Yes.
So The Witness has these wonderful moments where it presents you very early on with a puzzle that you can't solve, and then over the course of the game, you will learn the skills required to then come back and solve the puzzle.
Yes.
There's a lot of elements like this in the game.
It's great game design.
Which is basically... And there's... The Witness, actually, at certain points, for those of you who've played it, not too many spoilers, hopefully... It is not a bad guide for some of the puzzles for how things are. It's very interesting.
Whoa. Slow down there, Tiger. Slow down there. That sounded almost very much like winky spoilers. Hang around at this sundial. Another team comes out.
Oh my gosh.
Not with the same badge as us as well.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh. But us being us were like, hey, here's all the information that we've got.
Yeah.
Would you like some information? And they were like, yeah. And then, so it turned out that they had the second part of like a call and response that we had.
Yeah.
So we gave them ours. We showed them ours, and they showed us theirs, right? And
this was very interesting because I think a lot of the pairs worked individually throughout the whole event.
No, that pair did work individually. Me and you were solidly a team.
Yeah.
And then...
No, what I meant, sorry, the pairs themselves worked
yes.
as individual elements. But the thing to note was there's many different houses.
Yeah.
And there was another group of Historian players who we'll get to.
Yeah, well, we should get to that right now. Because basically, then we heard that there was going to be a tour around the grounds, which we were late for, obviously. Yeah. So we ran out there, missed the start of the spiel.
Yeah.
There is, what's the guy's name? The butler guy.
Hawthorne.
Hawthorne's like telling everyone about the history of the grounds. He's telling and explaining there's a big pond down there. There's a path you can walk down to get to the pond.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, cool. And we're looking around and it's like, wow, this is fucking cool. And there's so much of it. You're like, you're kind of dazzled by how much. Then we walked around and there was like this orchard, like it was a pear orchard, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, by the way, there are these 2 sheep that live there.
Amazing.
Oh my god!
Like real sheep, by the way.
Real, actual sheep.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Be careful. If you're a little scared about sheep, don't go near them. But they all they want is some head rubs, okay?" Yeah. And we were like, "Okay, cool, good to know."
Yeah.
Walked round. Then we went through the kind of like the gardeny bit where there's a big tree in the middle, right? And while he's talking, everybody spots like this one obvious clue thing by the tree, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at it. I'm like, yeah, look at the thing, Ian. And like, obviously everyone else has spotted it, right? As soon as he stopped speaking, it's like everyone runs over there to go and look at it.
Yeah.
And we're like, we'll go and look in after. Guy came up to us and was like, hey, you're fellow historian guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we are. do you want to work together? And he's like, yes, let's work together, right? Because all of our token things all go in the same pot.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not work together, right?
Yes. But there's different... What I liked about it, actually, was there were different ways to play. You could play competitively.
Yeah.
So you could play where you, as a pair, regardless of the fact that you have a joint objective with your comparative pair in your house, you could still work in a type of competition with each
was
other.
that one pair who they literally solved things by themselves.
Yeah.
They didn't even work they might have worked together, I don't know, but they solved big mysteries on their own as individuals.
Yeah.
Now that's some big brain shit
Yeah.
that we were not. We're all about cooperation and trying to work together.
What
right?
I liked though was there was so many different ways to play. Like, we were very early on, let's be a 4.
Yeah.
And the 4 of us worked together. And I think I'm right in saying we're the only 4 that essentially... Other people did kind of work with their comparatives.
I think so. We were the only group that had complete transparency and got to... When everything starts kicking off, we all came together as one, and it was...
amazing.
So good.
What was it? Yeah, we'll get to it, but there's moments where being able to share with more people was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and also just to realise that we're not complete numpties. And we'd figured stuff out that they hadn't figured out.
What was quite good was they did know the law.
Yes. Oh, did they?
They did know a fair bit of the law.
No, I don't think... No. They figured out the law.
Oh, okay.
So
one of them did...
No. They... Because later on, after a few things had happened, he started saying, I think this thing is kind of like this. And then the other guy, who was the big law guy, was like, you're right. It is a lot like that. So the guy had actually figured it out while being at the event.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But there was a couple. They were really, really nice.
Super good. And the thing was, we'd done a lot of running around, essentially, and getting a lot of clues and getting a lot of information. But being dyslexic, and I think just through exuberance and excitement, we just collected a lot of information and not accidentally read it.
Like I said to the guy later on, you complete me.
Yeah.
Like, we complete each other.
Yeah.
Like, he described us as like, kind of like bloodhounds. Like, like charging off and just going to like, oh, we need to go and look at this. And then it'll be like, I'll bring back the stuff and be like, I don't know what this says. Yeah. Read it. You know what I mean? I think, in fact, at one stage, didn't you, Ian, you literally had a bundle of bits of paper.
Well, because you kept giving me all your things. And I had
because I didn't want to deal with it.
So I just had this huge bundle of clues that we'd gathered. And we had... I'd read some of it, and I just sort of laid it all out. Yeah. And it was great, because we had this awesome moment where we all just sat down at a table. Yeah. And this happened a bunch of times, but this first time when we'd fully decided we're going to work fully together, I just laid everything out, and we just had this moment where we were just suddenly like... move it, like those crime scene things,
Charlie Day moment with the ball behind you, and there's all lines to it.
And because basically, I think we did say, but just to reiterate, there's basically a thing called a grand bird song, which is, as far as I understand, is like a mega spell that you're trying to decipher and achieve for your house.
I think there are 8 officially. Maybe a cheeky 9th out there for those super sleuths.
But the general gist is you can only get one.
Yes,
and that for I think for many reasons, but deciding which one you go for is part of the game. Yeah, and so we kind of laid everything out. And we were looking down, and your house will tell you ones that they're interested in. Mm-hmm. They'll take any. But they've got sort of a number of them they particularly want.
We had stuff where was it because we shared our conversation thing that we got to go to that one individual and say to them, this is the full phrase. Yeah. And then they went, okay, cool. Now you get to have a clue. Yeah. And it was like, what do you want a clue on? And we didn't even have a clue what the different options were. Yeah. So we literally went to this couple and were like, what are we going for?
Well, that was really cool, because then we laid everything out and we literally decided then, after looking at all the information we collectively had, which had basically been almost half a day's worth of investigation, what angle we were going to attack. And we kind of had 2 that we were going to approach, because we were kind of equally progressing on both fronts. But then there was one, I don't even know if I can really name them, but there was one that was kind of house-based and that one that wasn't.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. We went for the non-house-based one.
We did.
Right.
But we also were, at the first time, we also kind of kept the house-based one in the pocket.
Yes.
Because you never know. And as I say, there is a competitive element, and everyone's very friendly, but there is a competitive element going on, which adds an extra spice to it.
We were the guys who... There were loads of these keys around, and on the keys they had those little clues for what they might be. We went through... We were keying it up like mad. Yeah. Like, we would be like, oh, that probably means this. And walk over there, find a little box, open it up, get the fucking token out of there. When you open a box up, you leave it open for the game designers to come back and put it back together again. Yeah. And we just carried on doing that, like, over and over again. And we got a shitload of tokens, didn't we? And the other team were doing really well.
Also, we did really well on the Travelistic stuff, which is, as I say, getting these sets of frees, because you and me were doing a lot of running around and doing things.
Like, turns out, quite perceptive, really. Yeah. We were spotting, cool thing, the chess pieces.
Yes.
There was a chessboard, and, like, pieces were missing, and we had to go around and find the chess pieces.
I became quite good at finding chess pieces.
You are very good at finding chess pieces. Yeah. There was like a light set and a dark set. It's like there
was one of them was representing the house of the sun, and one was representing the house of the moon, and you would play the game. And it's, again, a lot of this is kind of spoilerish. There's a game of chess to be played. That's all I'll say. Yeah. But finding the pieces... First, you've got to get all the pieces for the chessboard before you can play.
We ran around. Yeah. Generally, we didn't even... There was one room... We didn't even look in where the what's her name? The person... The curator. Yeah. Oh my God, the curator was incredible.
Amazing.
Perfect Dutch accent. Just incredible. We got on well with this person so well. Like, so sympathetic, completely insane.
Yeah. Well, because there's basically... you become aware that some of these characters can and can't leave their house. Mm-hmm. And some of them will appeal to you in different ways, that they may wish to leave the house. And there's moral decisions to be made.
Yes.
And that was... I liked that element as well.
That was more of the LARPy stuff, right?
I really enjoyed some of that.
We really enjoyed interacting with the cast, right? We really enjoyed that. And also being, like, buffoonish, being silly, like, making a big kind of joke about how we were a crack elite unit while also being complete morons. Yeah. But then, like... It was really good to see, like, when we started, like the suppression bureau person was like, she was like, good luck, whatever. And we were being very buffoonish, and then we kept coming back with tokens, right, like, and just loading them up, right, and then we started getting the old stampy stamps at certain points because we got a few special tokens, and it was like, hold on a second, we're doing.
Are we actually doing a lot better than we think we are?
Doing okay right now.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say. I think we started off quite slowly. I think the first 2 or so hours, we started off quite slowly. And then from probably when we got to the sundial, I think you and me really started to ramp up. And actually, as time went on, and especially working with the other pair, I think working we really start...
But I think there's loads of stuff to do with, like, the visual stuff of things that we would just... And I'm saying this, like... The other group were awesome and really helped, and I don't think we would have done it without them. But I don't think they would have done it without us.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
And I think there was something really good about the different approaches that we had for the game. Yeah.
So good. It's difficult to know what we can talk about.
It's really hard to know what we can talk
about. I think...
I want to quickly touch on... Me and Ian went for a walk around went outside.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, hey... Maybe we'll just find some shit, right?
Yeah.
So walked around and we went to see the sheep.
Yeah.
And
they were lovely.
I've never petted a sheep before.
No.
Not a fully grown big sheep.
Yeah.
They were fucking awesome, weren't they? They wanted a little head rub.
They literally come up to you and they wanted to switch.
It was like, hey, give me a head rub. And I'd be like, all right. I gave them a little scratchies.
Oh, it was so cute, dude.
Mate, I loved that so much. That was, I know all the rest of it. Massive highlight. It was so cool. They were like, if you want to be like in a game, how sheep behave, coming up to you and looking for affection. Like, that's what you want off a sheep, right? Like,
oh man, it was, but it was cool to also just go for a walk around the house and see the grounds.
Yeah. And get a lay of things as well.
Yeah, and when things become later on...
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later on, Ian. So, this generally went on for a number of hours.
Yeah.
We felt like we'd had an amazing day's activities.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, we're now going to have dinner.
Yeah.
This is like, I think we have to be that vague about it. We had dinner. This is in the evening. And, cocktails weren't until way after dinner, by the way.
So they kind of ask you to go to your rooms.
No. Dinner first. Then we went to our rooms.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So we went for dinner. Everyone sat down again. There was a few faces there that the team had gone off to go and get. The maid.
Yeah.
She showed up at this point.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like if you're a LARPer and go to Empire, it was Maz. Yeah. Maz was the maid, and she was
so good,
fucking incredible.
Molly
was such good fun.
So good.
Just her character, her kind of just all of that was just really fun. We had a really good time with Molly, didn't we? Not in that way, but like you know what I mean.
It was so much fun, and
So we went to dinner, and we all sat down, and we were told, like, this is a themed menu to do with the different residents of the house.
No, so there are different hours. There are 8 hours, okay, and there's a different course, so 8 courses, one for each of the hours, and the chef comes out and literally explains to you what each of the hours represent and why the meal is being the dish is being served. And
they were themed, like
so good.
Some of them were like, should we even eat this?
Yeah,
because this looks like a puzzle.
This looks like a puzzle. There are some, but I was quite hungry.
Dude, especially that first course. I was just so hungry at this stage, having run around all day, that I was just like, it doesn't matter if this is a thing, I'm eating it. And it was delicious, and I had no regrets.
No,
so
it was so good. The food was phenomenal.
Many different courses. Like, I don't want to give any spoilers, but there was like one dish was based on the seaside.
Yeah.
One dish was based on a game of like backgammon or chess. Like, they were all really individual and really delicious. And I filled my boots on everything. Yeah. And while this is happening, you had Hatch walking around
with a tape measure,
doing hatchy things.
Yeah.
Which we probably shouldn't talk about because he's so good.
It's so good.
Like, he was measuring people for a reason.
Yeah.
It became clear that they were nefarious reasons. I was too small. Yeah. You were too big, and some people were just right. And Hatch liked those people a lot. Yeah. You know,
there's also the stark opposition, I suppose, between the lady from the Suppression Bureau and the curator, and the way they spoke and interacted became much more clear. At dinner.
Antagonism between the two of them,
and all the way through the course of the day.
Like the stuff to do with the book.
Yeah.
How the Suppression Bureau had taken the lady's book, and we were like, hey, we'll go and get the book back. So this is very LARPy, by the way, but I was like...
I think this might be one of my only criticisms of the game.
Agreed.
And I don't know... basically, we were made aware that this book had been taken.
Yes.
And we wanted to get the book back.
Yeah. So
we inquired about the book.
Yeah, literally, you were distracting the thing, and I literally just said to you under my breath, I'm going to go and get that fucking book.
Yeah.
So I snuck into the office and had a good old route around, couldn't find the book anywhere, okay? Then I came back, and then we were making inquiries about the book, and they said, it's out with the post.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, where would the post be? We've got some outgoing mail that needs to be sent. And they were like, well, you have to speak to Hawthorne about that.
Yeah.
So I went to Hawthorne and said, where do you put your mail out? I've got some personal mail I want sent out of the building. Yeah. Could you tell me where it is? It's for a personal nature. So all I wanted to do was isolate where this thing was and go and steal the book back, right? There was no book, I don't think.
Yeah. Basically, I got made aware, basically, that this wasn't possible. But I think that was literally the only problem I had was where it was like, that was that one moment where I felt that the LARPer in me butted up against the game system of the thing.
Agreed.
And I think, although it would have been difficult, I suppose, to integrate, it would have been nice to have had the opportunity to have had a chance to retrieve the book.
Or what was in the book.
Yeah.
all of that, right?
Or whatever.
Like, then to have the curator rub it in the face of the suppression bureau's person's face,
or just to make an alliance. Because but having said that, there was a byproduct of this, that because we did go to these lengths, the character interacted with us very differently.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you had been very much, for example, quite a posh noble who had been kind of like, oh well, I'm of noble stock, so and so and so and so, and they'd been a bit kind of weird about you.
Yeah.
But then after we'd made it clear that we actually would go to lengths to actually help them, the way they interacted with us was quite different and warm. And we, especially after the dinner, which we'll get to the preceding things, but we were kind of very much more sympathetic towards the curator and their plight. And
yeah, there was some stuff that happened at dinner that was like some plot development stuff that was really interesting. We felt way more sympathetic towards the curator after this.
But I felt that was very much, that's a decision. I'm not saying that we made the right or wrong decision.
No.
You could definitely go different ways, and there are benefits, and that was a cool element of the game. There were benefits to going different ways and trying different things, and by no means feel that we cracked anything and you should do it as we did.
That was very much the LARPer in us that wanted to chase down the option to go and steal a thing that had been taken, right? Anyway, we had this delightful meal.
So good.
The serving staff were really, really good, all candle lit. Actually, I've got pictures. I should post these pictures. I'm going to post these pictures up. Really, really good. After the meal, we were instructed to head to our rooms, where we would then be called back down again.
Yeah.
So we headed upstairs, and we were given, there's a letter up there that asked us whether we wanted to swap our houses.
So and I think this was something that was done live during the day, because it was mentioned to me earlier that the way that we were interacting with things didn't make it seem that we were very historian-y, and that actually we would get on much better with
money people.
The auction house.
Yeah.
I'm going to pronounce this badly as well. Oriflamme's auction house.
Yeah.
And we had, lo and behold, a little letter. Like a typed out letter.
We've got it here in front of us. It's a full-on, big off, fuck off typed letter.
Yeah.
That's directed towards our room.
Yeah.
It goes through a bunch of reasons why we should probably fuck off to them and how profitable it would be for everyone.
Yeah.
We were like, fuck you, we're loyal.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those...
We had a really good thing going with the other pair.
Yeah, and it was like, but we didn't know whether they were going to swap or not.
Yeah, because of course we were in separate rooms. But I
got the feeling that we were getting on pretty well already. I think we were both like, nah, we're going through this to the end, you know, so we... After that, there's music, like creepy music being played.
Yeah.
And eventually we get ushered down. Couple of things about this. Oh, masks.
Yes. Oh, and we should also say during dinner we were told that the locals would be arriving later.
Oh, the locals! Yes,
so we got told that there was a local festival,
and there would be warm cider.
Yeah, it's called Wassailing. This is actually like a pagan ritual of old. That would be taking place, and that was. We'll get to that. Yeah. But we started hearing this music and all this. We could hear things being movement outside our rooms.
Stuff happening.
Yeah.
We're also told that there were like strange things happen at night around here, right? Like
the moon door opens.
If you go in the moon door, you don't come back out again. Very strange.
Certain people may or may not have travelled through the moon door.
Yes.
Lots of things.
So we have these masks, and they really all make beautiful masks. Now, me and Ian are both glasses wearers.
Yeah.
And we were like, you can't put these masks on without. So we were like, we'll take our glasses off.
Yeah.
And put the masks on.
Yeah.
And then we'll occasionally put the glasses up.
Yeah. And use them like monocles.
Like monocles.
Yeah. And this was a disastrous
What we also didn't notice was the lamp. They'd given us a lamp, like a little torch lamp to walk around with to light our way.
Yeah.
Didn't notice that.
So
we headed out, blind as bats, no lights, and it's a miracle we made it downstairs.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
We actually ended up... At first, they gave us the option to have our mask... it was important that you wear your mask for plot reasons. But they gave us the option to basically have our masks on sticks. That made it easier. But in the end, they actually just said, and I think it was definitely the way to go, you can just wear your mask slightly up on your head. As long as your mask is on your head, It doesn't have to be over your eyes, and then you can wear your glasses.
That was the best.
Yeah, and it just meant that we could actually play the game.
It was so good. Like, we just like, okay, cool, and it made us chilled out and got on with it. When I got our torch back, which is a hell of a thing to find out that you've left a torch on the fourth floor.
This is like the torch is all sort of IC'd up, like all the props, by the way, and there are many props.
Right?
Yeah, it's like a lantern. But all the props, and I said there are many props from all the boxes, and by the way, if you've seen like the Da Vinci Code, there are Da Vinci Code style dials and things, all sorts of things,
code boxes,
all sorts of stuff. It's all very in character. There's glass cabinets with all this kind of stuff in it.
With the music boxes around. Some of them play really crazy weird shit at the end of their loop.
There's moments where the music is not of the time period. There's lots of interesting stuff.
Very interesting
lots
stuff.
Lots of interesting stuff.
Oh man,
it's so many things. So, like it that really.
We come down, and the whole house has changed its lighting. It's changed its vibe. The pictures have changed.
Yes.
There's a doll's house in the downstairs area that's now been opened up, which we found out was a representation of the house we were in. Crazy. We were pretty mind blown about all of this, and we're kind of exploring it and doing our thing. We then talked to the other group in our house. They had stayed with us because we had the same conversation that we were like, nah, to the end, motherfuckers. We ride and die together, you know. They were like, what do you think about we try this thing?
Yeah.
We can go and look here.
Yeah.
And we were like, that seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
So I went to Molly and I said, we're thinking about going here.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Molly?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, let me come with you.
Yeah.
So we had already been to this place. Well, we hadn't actually left. And then she had said, well, do you know where you're going? And we said, no. And we just wander around. He said, there's a lot of things to wander around. But when we gave a specific location, she was like, okay. And then we headed out there with torches. And Molly was like, do you have any of a better idea of where you're looking? It's like, no. We're just going to basically brute force this. And we're going to fan out. And we're going to look around the area and see what we can find.
And we did find the thing.
Oh, it was so exciting, wasn't it? When we were like, what's this?
Yeah.
And it was like, what's this?
And this is a place we'd previously been to.
Yeah.
And the logistics, I would say, of changing all of the different things that needed to change in order to make this a thing.
This is when things started going to like the...
Yeah, I think this is when the game, when it moved to the House of the Moon, the level of the game pumped up massively.
Young Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Yes.
Where they're like, here's the thing. And then it's just like, ha-ha! And I'm like going like,
but
right.
You're forgetting even before this, we also had, because we were still pursuing two different things.
No. We had done that first.
Right.
And then we did the
other thing.
Yes.
And then
so when we came back in, we were told... we had found a special thing.
Yes.
We were told that we had to go and give this thing to one of the household.
Yes.
While this was happening, I was looking for some other things and had discovered by using some really cool visual trickery that certain things could be a certain way. Yeah. And then I looked at a thing and then realised that the house that we were in was not as it necessarily appeared, and that there was a hidden area within the house.
Yes.
And I went, that looks like a hidden area in this house.
Yeah.
And then Molly was like, I don't know, maybe you should have a look. And it was like...
So oh my gosh.
How excited was I?
Your face.
And then...
Because your face, you went from like, is this actually real? And I think you half expected... just to get, handed a piece of paper or something. Yeah,
or something. Something not anywhere near as the reveal.
Yeah.
And then realising that
and I'm so sorry we have to talk about this vaguely, but it's for your benefit.
It's so exciting. That there's this other... There's a doorway into a different area.
Yeah.
And to be like, I'm just going to open this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go in there. Yeah. And they were like, okay, sir. And I was like... open it up, and that Indiana Jones moment, Ian, of sticking my head in there.
But it's also the fact it had been there all along.
It had been there all along, and nobody had realised.
Nobody had noticed. The only way you would know it was there is if you put this string of clues together, and it had been there the whole time.
And I jumped down there, and oh my god, incredible!
Your face was a picture. Your face will stay with me forever.
I felt like Indiana Jones, dude. It was the best. It was so incredible.
And what was great was we ended up. This was one of the routes of the Grand Bird Song. This was the one that we didn't pursue.
Yep.
And I think us finding it actually helped the other group who were looking for this thing.
Yes.
Which was great, actually.
100%, dude.
But we, in a sense, we got the best bit out of it. That was the discovery of this thing.
the big mega reveal, and then we got to go and be like, hey, if you want to go and do the big mega reveal for what you guys are doing, go and do that. So basically, we went along, spoke to this member of the house. They were like, go and sit here. I'll be right out. Went and got something for us.
Well, because we'd already got the.
Yes.
The thing that was the other tool that was needed.
Yes, as part of the thing.
As part of the thing.
And then we were like, oh, let's... so we sat here. I'm pretty excited. I'm like, right, smash this open. Cocktails, right? Like, great. And then they brought this thing out. We're all sat around.
Yeah.
And then I get into it.
Yeah.
And I find there's a key...
inside it.
And it was like... fucking Jesus!
It was so cool.
It was so exciting, wasn't it?
And not only that, the presentation of it was fantastic. You cut into it, reveal the key, and the napkin that you have. I know has more clues. We then can use all of these clues collectively to find this thing.
And I'm off again.
At this stage, and we're fully afford like this stage. We're just like bouncing. We're really on the chase for it now.
And that had a map in it.
Yes.
And we're like, this map. That was the guy in the other couple was like, if I overlay this, and I'm like, no, like this, and then we overlaid it, and was like, let's go.
X marks the spot.
Let's go, boys. And then we ran out there, and it's just like, then we found a box and the key. Opened the box, and then we got into that, and that had an item in it.
Yeah.
And then that item had a note attached to it. And then we were like, right, let's go and take this item. And then we had gave it to one of the members in the house and said, this note said this. I think you should have this.
Yeah. And they got a key and took us to another place.
That
had been there all along.
Another secret place.
That had been there. So it happened twice. It happened twice. It was so... And this place that we went to...
It's a very secret place.
A very secret place. Was laid out. And it had all been prepared.
Yes.
It was so...
And they were like, do you think the thing that you're looking for could be here? And we were like, I don't know.
Yeah. And we put together all the clues of... Because there's a storyline that backs up this thing.
Why did I get to do the actual thing though? Someone else should have done that. I feel like I had
I think everybody was. Your face was such a picture.
I was having
everybody
the best time.
Was so enthralled, and also I think I was holding the lamp, and
it was dark. And you're holding the lamp,
and the other couple because we didn't know which. Basically, there was an array of options when we got down to this place. It's kind of like. The scene the scene from the Holy Grail, Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail, where there's Last Crusade, sorry, and there's all of the Grails, okay, and you've got to pick the one, and we put together the information about it would be like this and this based on the person it was related to, and then you're like this pot, you dig in, and you pluck out. The thing. It was so good.
It was so good.
Well, chosen wisely. So good.
We had chosen wisely. Was that the end?
So after that, then
we had to take that to someone.
Yes, and they basically. What was interesting was there was an option about what you did with your Grand Bird Song when you had it, which we had at this point, and I think I'm right in saying we were the first. Group to
we
get
were the first.
Yeah.
We were literally the first. The most Ian,
us, the idiots,
us absolute morons.
Yeah.
Started off the day not having a Scooby. And Scooby-Doo has a lot to do with this. I think we were the Scooby and Shaggy of this event, where we were like, I was just yelling about cocktails the entire time, and it turned out we were actually really good sleuths, and actually did bust this case wide open.
It was so good, and then
it was so exciting.
We got to, but you basically get the choice about what you do with your reward at the end. You can donate it to your house, you can give it to the suppression bureau, all sorts of different things. In the lore, we didn't really understand a lot of the context of this stuff, but what was interesting was seeing how different people who do understand the lore and much more steeped in it,
some
had
people
different
just
options.
Pocketed it.
Some people pocketed it.
Because they were going to take it with them because they wanted to keep the arcane knowledge for themselves.
What was kind of interesting was there was an element of, as I say, though this isn't a LARP, the lore from this event is very much based on existing lore that has quite a following to it.
Yeah.
And this is in no way saying that we had a phenomenal time, an absolutely incredible time, and we have no knowledge of the lore, and our decisions weren't based on the lore at all. I think if you do have knowledge of the lore, there is definitely things that has that.
Oh, dude, I recommend going anyway.
Yeah.
If you like Cult Simulator, 100%.
100%.
This would be Disneyland for you.
Yes.
Like this is it.
This is it.
This is it.
This is it. This is if you really like that lore, I can't imagine you will ever find something bigger or better than this.
Yes, agreed.
I think this is the ultimate visualization of whatever it is that is this. It was that good. Like some of the players who had gone, because there were a couple of people who really did know the lore very well. We spoke to
that one person, and they were like, "Oh, you're really into the game?" And it says, "Yeah, have you played it a lot?" And there's, "Oh, not that much, only like 300 hours." Yeah, 300 hours.
I spoke to someone who had organised their personal library according to the different ways in which the lore sort of structures itself.
It's a rabbit hole, and
they had they literally catalogued the books in their own personal library according to how things should be done. So there's levels of, and that was and they what they chose to do with their Grandbird song when they got it was quite different to what we did, which is basically just give it over to the house.
Yeah. We're there to do a job.
And we did the job.
Job done. Hey,
and then it was cocktails.
Elite Special Operations Force send us in to do a job. We got it. Bam!
Bam! Bam! Bam! That was so good. And actually, sharing it as a 4, I don't know about you.
It felt so good.
It's so good. The 4, because if it had just been you and me, for example, or it had just been the other couple, I think there would have been... It wouldn't have been quite as good. Being able to share it...
Like, when I was talking to the guy, and I literally said to him, he was complimenting us, we were complimenting him, and I said to him, you complete us. Yeah. And I was like, you complete us. Yeah. It was so feels and really good.
Yeah. The 4 of us sitting around and just all having our cocktails together, the first people to finish.
Cocktails. I've been wanting cocktails all day. And those that we could say, but they tasted even sweeter. The fact that we had come in for the big fucking win, Ian. So good,
and it was so good because we got to sit down in the corner of the room and just lounge out. And you'd been saying literally all the time through the whole event.
Every single time we'd come up to a new clue,
it was and then cocktails,
and then cocktails,
and then eventually, and then it was cocktails.
Yeah, and then it was actually cocktails.
And then we had these lovely cocktails, but we got to also get the whole experience of watching all of the other groups finish.
Yeah,
and seeing the different props that they would walk in. And the different adventures they must have gone on.
Some people didn't complete their Grand Boson, by the way.
You get a second bite at it the next morning.
Well, one of them came up to me and I was just like... They asked me about it and I was just like... So I said to one of the organisers, am I spoiling it if I tell them? It's like, no, now you've found that one.
Yeah.
That's done. Yeah. You can tell everyone about that. And I was just like, oh, cool. So then I got to tell them the story of how we did it. And they were like, that's fucking insane. I'm like, I know. It was fucking bonkers, dude.
And bear in mind, this is one of
8 or 9.
Yes. Originally, I think you're led to believe there's 5. Then there's 2 more. And then there's another one, and then potentially another one.
I remember one that the other guy told me where he had to go in somewhere to go and find something. That sounded fucking crazy. Yeah. And again, he said the line, "Can I do this? I didn't know I could do this."
Yeah.
And then to just go, I'm going to just get it, and I'm going to do it, right? amazing.
I saw someone walking in with a massive prop, and and just like, you mean you could just pick that up and walk it off to the person?
This was the crazy thing about it.
It was just so cool.
We were just kind of like let loose on a really big fancy home on our lonesome. Obviously we're not animals, but like it felt weird, right? 'Cause in the UK, if you're not listening to it in the UK, stately homes tend to be, you walk around them and there is a rope separating you and the stuff in the room. This was like no rope, just go and have a look at the things.
What was kind of cool about it was that there were some things in the house that were obviously the house as a historical house's thing.
Yeah.
Some of these things have been very much incorporated into the plot, very wisely. Imagery, all sorts of things, wallpaper, all sorts of interesting things, right? But some things were actually of the house, but all the things that weren't were... You know how props are proppy enough that you kind of can tell that they're props. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you kind of know what a prop painting looks like and what a prop item looks like.
I think so.
Kind of, but like you kind of know as you're playing.
Yeah, you discover what things are,
what things are, and as you play, you're kind of given you because it all builds up, it all snowballs. The things you realise you can interact with and the level to which you can interact with it will naturally reveal itself. So don't, by the way, when you go there, don't feel any need to suddenly rush around and do all the things straight away.
Do what we did.
Just
style it out.
Style it out.
Just
Just
take
and then
a hunch.
Come in for the big win.
Come in for the big win.
Yeah.
In first
so
place.
Good. Literally just YOLO off the top dive board.
Yeah.
And just
nail it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It was so good. But there's a whole morning period. What was cool about it, so you had this whole House of the Sun, House of the Moon, and then we just kind of basically pieced out for most of the rest of the evening talking.
Well, you stayed up. I went to bed because I was like,
I'm worried that you might get this call.
Going to drink cocktails if I stay up, so I'm just going to go to bed. But you got to stay up and have some more cocktails. I didn't stay
that much later, actually. I stayed up a little bit longer. But
I was out by the time you came up, though.
It'd been a long day. But that one thing is there's a lot of walking and a lot of walking up and down stairs.
Yeah.
They do try, I think, to as best they can, but if you have accessibility things and stuff, I would say if you're not up for a fair bit of walking, just be aware of that.
I would agree.
Stairs are a very real thing.
Home at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, right. Like we're on the top floor, but even if you're not on the top floor, you're going to need to go to the top floor at some point.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to tell somebody that stairs aren't going to be a thing and they're not going to be expected to climb stairs. I'm thinking
like... Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. A quick shout out to the curator. We had to go and deliver these verses to them, and they would stamp our book, and it became this ritual of the best time where they would just smash down the fucking the stamp, and we would be like. And then I was like, because I didn't write anything down, I had to copy out from your book.
Yeah.
And it would be like, I'd be like, blah, 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 and they would stamp it.
There was a time they stamped over the next clue I was about to deliver them. And I had to suddenly read the clue through the stamp. It was so good. And bear in mind, they're in character the whole time.
Yeah. They might be a crazy person.
It was so funny. And also, the curator was doing this thing where they would walk around and they would write these notes on these tags.
Yeah.
And they would attach them to things. And they could also attach them to people.
Yes.
And I had taken to, as I was reading the poems to the curator, sort of doing a little dance as I was reading them. So they kind of, they were quite taken with this. They put a note on me which was like, full of merriment and mischief, where will it lead him? Was written on me. And that was like, to be tagged by the curator had law implications I wasn't fully aware of, but there was kind of
Probably not an issue,
but it was cool. It was fun. It was really fun. There was little different things that
we went to bed with our grand bird song in victory. The next day, there was a couple of bits of there was a few more puzzles. We were kind of just chilling, really, having a nice time. We had to go and do our identity risk assessment.
Yes.
With the member of the
Suppression
Bureau. This had a bunch of different people had different questions.
Yeah.
How do you feel about certain things?
Yeah. What
do you think of this? One of my answers was cold and dead inside.
Right.
I got a identity disorientation as 0 because she felt that was actually quite a rational way to feel about everything.
Yeah.
And I got a little stampy stamp, and I got a free bill of health to leave. There was this kind of ominous threat that you might well be
trapped in the house.
Yeah,
and I think that was cool. Actually, there was always there's this kind of slightly tongue-in-cheek Lovecraftian, as I say, kind of slightly His Dark Materials tongue-in-cheekishness that's going on of not everything is in your best interest, but you knew the risks coming here, and that's part of the law. I quite liked that.
Really good. We didn't even mention the wassail.
Oh, the wassail was really good. So basically,
the locals showed up.
The locals show up with
accordion, some musical instruments.
Yeah, a stick with a skull on it and all this kind of flair.
And we
danced around a tree.
And then we had to spill. They had delicious warmed cider.
Yeah, you have to give some to the tree.
Only a little bit, mind. A little bit.
Yeah.
We drank quite a lot of that.
It was like a warm perry. It was really nice.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
Fuck.
The next day also, there's still... What's kind of nice about the pacing of this is there's certain things that can't progress. You become very aware of this just through the way things progress. There's certain things that can't progress beyond the House of the Sun. There's certain things that can't progress beyond the House of the Moon. And then there's certain things that can only be resolved in the morning the next day. Mm-hmm. One of which is the storyline for one of the characters. Or both of the characters. Or both of the characters to which
we shouldn't even talk about that.
No, but it's cool that there's still things to do in the morning.
Oh my god, yeah, all that stuff in the morning was amazing.
Also, the game that needs to be resolved in the morning.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And then the joy of it was so good.
And then we all have almost like a Poirot moment where we all sit down in a semicircle and
the kind of end of ceremonies type thing.
It was really cool. They close all the curtains and close the doors. And
the whole staff comes out, all the wait staff, the cooks, all the different characters. We all come to this room, and our houses read to us a letter
about our performance.
And then we kind of have a
send-off from each of the characters, should we just say?
Yes.
And what's interesting is that obviously it can play out differently depending on decisions that are made, and I thought that was fantastic. And I felt we got the good ending.
The mega happy ending.
The mega happy ending.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
I was super chuffed that we managed to achieve what we got.
I think it's crazy that we were there for a full day in total, going through the 24 hours. It felt like a lot longer than that in a good way.
Yeah. We'd done a lot.
I felt really connected to the story, we'd done a good job, it was just an amazing experience. I would really like to talk to one of the organisers. I heard Ivan and Ivan separately, so I don't know if I'm correct.
It was Ivan.
I think it was Ivan, but the other person was saying it. I don't want to get it wrong, but what they're trying to do, and what I think they succeeded in, was creating a magical experience that was something really, really special, really, really tailored, really, really bespoke. Bear in mind, we're telling you about our journey through it. I can't even imagine how much time and effort went into, because it was just us. Everything else, mind-blowing.
They said they were there for a week setting everything up.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the writing of the thing.
Oh, that must be huge. The production values of everything, right?
Just
the books,
so much care, attention.
The lapel pins are real physical things. Everything. All the props.
There's so much detail. Great performances by the actors. Amazing food. Fantastic location. Yeah, I think maybe doing an episode talking to him about it, because I think it's very interesting. We had a brief chat on Saturday night about the problems they're going to have in doing what they're doing, and what they want to do in the future and why they're doing it and everything like that. And I thought it was really, really good. I think it's worth a standalone episode instead of us butchering it now. But
I agree, and I think that I think their insight into a lot of it will be valuable. Because there's a lot of things, like the replayability of it. So there's like, I mean, there's so many different things that we didn't do.
Well, there are other events. They're going to do a Lovecraft one. They're doing a ball. They're doing a bunch of different types of things. So there's going to be a few different games that they're going to run. Like, I don't know. Like, I really genuinely wish them the best.
Yes.
Like, I really enjoyed myself. I think it's going to be. I think it's really exciting. I think like there was such a nice group of people involved in the actual thing. Yeah, fuck. I don't know. I don't know whether I just sound like a massive sellout now. But like,
I mean, yeah. Obviously, you do have to take, but you do have to take it with a pinch of salt. Of obviously, we did get to go for free. But I think even saying the production values alone and the expense that was, it's difficult to honestly see how they could make profit.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I felt like. Are you sure we should be here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know whether you're getting value for Ian and me being here. It's
but it was incredible, and
with just to touch on that briefly, with as you may know, listened to this for a long time. I've always had issues with the idea of monetizing this podcast. Like I've always said, if you talk to me, like the LARP Noobs podcast is not for sale. We don't take on advertisers, things like that. I think I'm significantly more open to the idea of going to events that I wouldn't be able to go to otherwise.
I think it gives
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it gives us the chance to talk about stuff. Like, we would never have talked about this had we not gone.
Agreed. I'm so glad we went, and especially seeing that we haven't been able to LARP together for such a long time. It was such a great weekend for us to hang out.
It was a great way for you and me to finish the year.
Man,
right? It was cool, so because it was actually kind of fed in really nicely to the conversation we'd had, I think, in the previous episode where I'd said that you and me actually hadn't got to LARP together much. And it was fun. Although this wasn't a LARP, and again, I wouldn't want to sell this to someone like it is a LARP.
But it was a great experience.
It was a great experience.
And that's why I think, like, okay, like, I know it's me and Ian, but really, you and your best mate, you and your partner, this is a great way to spend a weekend.
This is a phenomenal way to spend a weekend.
Please let us know if you have any feedback on what we talked about here. Like 100%, we want people to be part of this conversation. But yeah, if you did enjoy this, also let us know, because we enjoyed doing it. So, right. God, we should close out, really, I think. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you to our long-suffering patrons. A brief note, we absolutely smashed the fucking raffle this year.
Thank you so much, everyone who assisted in every way with that,
the
from
people
giving
that
gifts,
donated prizes to those that bought raffle tickets.
Exactly.
We sent off 1,300 quid to Young Lives vs Cancer.
It's incredible.
Very happy.
What a great end to the year.
What
a fantastic beginning to the next one.
Absolutely.
I think we both like to go bigger next year. And see what we can do.
I would like to, for the raffle, I would like to talk to the other content creators and have us
we can
join up
maybe
together or something like that. I don't want to put pressure on people, whatever, but like, I think having at least a couple of us working together would be really, really good. But thank you to everyone that was involved. It really made the end of the year so fucking sweet.
Oh, it was amazing. What a great send off to the year.
I don't really know how we should close it out.
Just don't open the moon door.
Don't open the moon door.